All right, so this is the second video lecture for this week on supervision and training. So we've talked a lot about policies and procedures, mission statements, infant toddler, school age programs. This is just kind of basic supervision in this lecture for staff members, how to train them, and then a little bit on team building as well. We'll weave a little bit of this into the rest of the class as well. And then 155, that's typically taught in the spring as well, has more kind of things about program administration and supervision and leadership and things as well. They're typically taken in pairs, so you might want to consider that if you wanted to know more about supervision and team building. So a supervisor has a lot of different roles throughout the day, but when it comes to supervision, we're looking at their ability to train, to ensure compliance with licensing or whatever governing board you have, the ability to inspire, be available to your staff, and be flexible as well. Page 242 of the textbook also has some interesting ideas about what it takes to supervise. So I have a video. Once again, YouTube has a lot of human resource videos that are fantastic. And I liked this one. This is from a manager and supervisor who's doing kind of leadership training, and he's talking about how we can help people develop their talents, how we can engage them in a process of reflection and goal setting, and then setting up professional development. So a lot of the things that you might want to do from a supervisory standpoint that don't have anything to do with kind of the education or the HR. So this is a great video that you might want to watch on your own in order to learn more about working with staff members. So training new staff, I'm very big in this. One of my positions on Pendleton was literally, this was my job. I was the training and curriculum specialist. So a big part of it was training new staff who were typically military dependents, maybe didn't have units, but were linked up with us through the military kind of education system. And then other parts were training staff throughout the year. I did CPR and first aid. I did a lot of training. This is a kind of passion of mine. I feel like before that, I always just been thrown into the classroom like, oh, hi, it's your first day, sign this hand back, and then go break that infant repeater. And you walk in and you're like, hi, I'm Jolie. Who are these kids? And what's the ratio in this room? Like, you're super confused. You're walking in and out of all these classrooms. So I feel like we could probably do better. I mean, at some point, sink or swim, obviously. You've got to just jump into the classroom and do your job. But I feel like we could probably do a better job of training staff consistently within the classroom, and then also what our classroom looks like and what the vision is and how we do things. So in order to ensure compliance with a variety of regulations and requirements, a supervisor needs to clearly communicate expectations before and then during training. So what is our ratio here? This is how we break. This is when you can go to the bathroom. This is where you eat your lunch. Then we also, within the classroom, need to assess that they understand the regulations, so licensing regulations, the ratios, classroom management, lesson planning. And then we need to check that our expectations that we have clearly laid out for them are being implemented into the practice. Knowing that this is a new person, some things might be a little bit slower. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, but for the most part, the things that we need to have done are being implemented in the classroom. And then we need to retrain or remind staff about expectations throughout the year. That's why we have staff meetings. If you just let things go, people would forget. Family style dining would go away. You know, the hand washing would become very lax. So reminding people about it by being in the classroom, watching them actually do it. And then in staff meetings or however you communicate your expectations, also doing that and retraining them. Correct. So in this example, so how I would do this process would be, let's say that my regulation is correct ratios are to be maintained. Huge licensing requirement, ratios are maintained. This is my expectations for all my staff members, but I have a new staff member. When a staff member comes in, she signs the job description, employee handbook stating what ratios and procedures are for maintaining ratios of supervision. So then I would talk to her and I would make sure that we go through this. I'd probably do a couple scenarios, depending on, like, I know where the weird parts of my playground are, and supervision in those areas are a problem. Or I know that little Johnny in room 1 is kind of a runner, or you know, getting all of our toddlers back into the playground because they have to link hands and they have to walk around, and you know, it's kind of an ordeal. So I would give them scenarios about tricky situations that I know to be in my program, and then I walk them through how to would do those and what my expectations are in those situations. Typically after doing running scenarios, maybe in the office, I would take them out and I would literally show them, look, this is this weird, like, hard to supervise part of our playground. Somebody always needs to be standing back there because it's so many odd parts, like a trapezoid in the middle of the playground. And then for assessing their understanding, I would check in during the first couple months of probation to reassess that she understands what her ratios are in the classroom and she's not having any difficulty with any children or parts of the classroom or up to her. Then checking that expectations are being implemented, daily rounds of classroom checks, making sure that ratios are maintained consistently throughout the day. And then 4, maybe reminding staff if we've had issues with supervision or keeping our ratios, reminding them and maybe working through scenarios as well at monthly staff meetings. A lot of time monthly staff meetings are reminding people about things and then re-inspiring them to buy back into it. So, you know, we can start off the year, woohoo, I love family style dining. And then by the time we get to January, it hates family style dining. If I could just serve these kids myself, these 2-year-olds would not be so messy and I wouldn't have to wipe them down and blah, 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 blah. So re-inspiring the toddler teachers to re-engage into style dining, or the school age program to do clubs, whatever it is within your age group that people fall out of love with, re-inspiring them to get to buy back. So what if you have a new policy and procedure? So you don't have staff, but you have new policy. So if it's a new policy, it's new training. So you unless it's something silly, like I had from the Marine Corps, they have standard operating procedures or SOPs for everything. And one day they decided there was going to be an SOP on toothbrushes, like not the storage of them. Well, a little bit of the storage, mostly how the children engage with them. And I was out. I had somebody else do it. I was like, there's not an SOP. There's not literally a standard operating procedure from the Marine Corps about toothbrushing. And I didn't train anybody on that. I literally was like, read this and sign it and do it. And I don't want to talk about toothbrushing anymore. That was one in a career of almost 20 years. Typically, if it's a new policy, it's a new training, I talk about it with everybody to make sure that they understand it and also that they're going to comply with it and they kind of buy into this concept. So typically, it's a process of demonstration. This is the policy. This is why I want you to do it. Practice and then hands-on learning. So hand washing after diapering, let's say that's a new policy. We really hope it's not a new policy and you all wash your hands after diapering, but let's say that it was. I'm going to explain the procedure to them and I'm going to show them literally how to wipe a baby's butt, put a diaper on, and wash my hands. Then I'm going to talk to them and the staff, oh, I have a concern. I should wear gloves? Yes, you should wear gloves when diapering children. Oh, okay. Then hands-on practice with the baby doll. Then assessing that my staff understands it. I'm watching them actually do it with the baby doll. Then I will have typed up procedures with pictures and they're posted all the sinks to remind them, this is how you wash your hands. Then all staff sign the new procedure that they understand it and they are going to implement it. Then I observe them in all the classrooms. Are you using your gloves? Are you diapering appropriately? And are you washing your hands after? I really hope that's not a new policy for any of you. Everybody knows that you should wash your hands after diapering a child, but if it was a new one, and just for this, I showed you an example of how we would do it hands-on, how I would make sure that everybody was doing it afterwards. Then daily supervision. I know in some classrooms, teachers can not like to have supervisors come into a classroom. And I think that speaks more to the relationship or the dynamics between supervisor and employee in this case. And that's why it might be unliked. I remember having a director very early on in my career when I was in the late teens, 19 years old. I didn't really like her, but we kind of had a weird dynamic. I was very young. She was much more established. So I sometimes felt that she was looking over my shoulder or things like that. I came to see that it was a lot more of my overreacting and my putting things into this relationship that actually weren't there. She knew that she had responsibility over the teachers, how we act and how we care for children, and that's why she came into the classroom a lot. It wasn't my classroom so much. I felt that she was picking on me or coming into my classroom a lot, and it wasn't that. She was in, and once I noticed it, she was in all of the classrooms all of the day. And I think this is a hallmark of a good supervisor is you walk through every day. You check in, you informally observe your teachers, you informally observe children, or you formally observe them. You have face-to-face with parents. Parents see you at pickup and drop-off. They know that you're approachable and accessible with issues. They see procedures that are implemented. You're making sure that these procedures are implemented. So there's a lot of reasons to walk through many times a day, or varying the type of day that you walk through. Make sure everything's running smoothly in your program. Your staff feel supported. You've checked in with them. You know what any situations with children that's arising, and parents get to see you. It's a really great thing to do. I think another great thing that programs may or may not have is professional development. I'm gonna move that so you can see the page number in the textbook on page 248 to 252 is professional development, and they kind of call it a holistic approach to building an EC professional's capacities to ensure individuals remain current. We do have a lot of things in San Diego County and a lot of things in California State as well, which I think really add to our professional development. There's free webinars in any capacity that you could think of. There's so many state organizations that really want to support us getting professional development basically for free. So I feel like the opportunities are out there. We just need to go and grab them. If you are in QPI or something else like that, you have to in order to keep funding or stipends or things like that. But even if you're not taking advantage of those programs, I think for new staff, it helps them learn what they're supposed to do and take some of the training off of you. For our established and experienced team, once again, recommitting them, re-inspiring to them to this vision that maybe over the last couple of years or months, they might have gotten burnt out, or they might not be buying back into those kind of concepts. Professional development from somebody other than you, or somebody whose entire life is speaking in front of other people and thinks about how to communicate to adults about children, can really help you with those types of situations as well. They can help inspire, or maybe you might be struggling through the daily minutia of programs, and that's why going to workshops as a group or doing professional development as a group when you can be really helpful. If you can't do it as a whole group, because I know that's really hard, I did do it one time. The best thing we ever did. We got somebody from Lakeshore, and we got three programs together. They had a gymnasium available to them. And so we literally brought these three groups in. We shared the cost of the Lakeshore guy to come out. I think he was actually free, or like $100, like super, super affordable. And then we shared the cost of all the materials, and we did like bubbles and science and STEM and all of these types of things that Lakeshore had brought for us. And it was super hands-on. The staff like loved it. Best day ever. They all came away with like a pamphlet of everything that Lakeshore had set up for us, and then we had bought the materials, so some of the classrooms were able to kind of leave through a raffle with some of these things that we had already bought and played with. And so it was a fantastic way, and like I said, we shared the cost with 3 other programs, which made it really, really affordable as well. If you can't do a whole center like that, consider doing individuals, just sending an individual that's really into a specific thing, like they go to a Waldorf, or they go to an outdoor environment, or they watch a webinar on military children, or your classroom age group teams, like you can send all of your preschool teachers, or you can send all of your toddler teachers, or the mentor teachers from all of the different classrooms. Whatever it is, you might want to send them like that. There are lots of management ones and support staff as well. This is different than a plan of action. I think everybody should have professional development. I think in this was something that all my programs had to do. It was typically individualized, so you sat down with me, and like a new teacher might say, I want to go to 3 workshops this year. Whereas an older, more experienced staff member might say, I want to go to 1 workshop and I want to read 2 articles and 1 book on Reggio. You know, whatever it was. You can use the plan of action with the plan of action and professional development. So if somebody is having job description issues that you want to address in the plan of action, and professional development would support this, like in order for you to learn more about classroom management, we would like to set up a professional development plan with you so that you can learn more, and then you can hash out the parameters in which you want them to do in professional development with them while you're writing the plan of action. So they can be together, but not always. Sometimes professional development is just for all staff members, and that's how I set it up, because I think learning is really, really important in this field. Yeah, Piaget hasn't changed much. Yeah, Erickson. Yeah, Gardner. You might know these things, but you're always getting the capacity to learn how to do it better in your classroom or in your program. We also have a little bit of emerging fields with including children with special needs, learning disabilities, things like that. So there are always little things that we can learn, whereas maybe the theoretical underpinnings might not change. You can always get some great ideas. So team building, I love team building. I think I wish I could just do a whole class on team building, but we have so many like important things we have to get through. We have to talk about firing people. We have to talk about director's files and all, you know, licensing regulations and child abuse. We have a lot of things that we have to cover that are important. So I feel like sometimes I don't get to give team building the respect that it should have, but it really should, because for our whole program and for our classroom teams and for our individual staff members, it's really important that they like their workplace, they want to show up to their workplace, and they're committed to really working with us. So how do we support and teach staff? How do we keep them feeling appreciated and supported? Yeah, we have Teacher Appreciation Week, but throughout the year, what can we do to support them and make them feel like we're here for them, even through maybe challenging behaviors or rough classrooms or things like that? Well, how do we kind of carve out the day to make time and space to support and build up teams within classrooms, especially for teams that are just coming together, they're storming. When I mean by storming is they're kind of getting to know each other, getting to know how to work with each other, their newer teams. How do they play off of each other? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? How can they take all of their personal differences and personal similarities and put them together for a great team? How do we do that? That's really, really good. That's a really, really hard thing to do. So I have basic team building ideas. Consider, you know, recognizing staff informally and on the spot. Some people really, really hate this. My husband in the past he's a processing supervisor, like at a lab, and so they have informal on Friday. They have a Friday meeting that everybody goes to before they start the day, and typically they would shout out somebody from the week, like, "Hey, so and so did so good. He processed this many specimens, like high five," or "So and so helped out, blah 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 blah." He has in the past identified that there are, and he's a bit shy, so he has identified in the past people who are very shy and maybe don't want to be informally recognized or even formally recognized, and have to do it off to the side. Like their biggest nightmare is in front of everybody clapping for them or something like that. Consider that there are introverts in your life. They might not like this and you need to find another way. But for the most part, if you know your staff, you know that most people like the high fives and the like, "You're awesome," and "Employee of the Week," "Employee of the Month," something like that. I think it's also, if your staff is up for it as well, having mentor or lead teachers that motivate and encourage their newer staff. So that's part of their job. They might receive a little bit of extra money, or they have it built into their staff job contract that part of their job is being the experienced staff member who trains other people. Having that be part of their actual job lets them that makes them feel really good that they've been asked to do this. And then you have a set person who can motivate and encourage the newer staff. That person that's a lead person has been picked because they are good at working with other people. They're good at communicating with other people. And so bringing them in and helping them as a teacher, so teacher to teacher, employee to employee, motivating and things like that can be better than always a site supervisor having to do it. Sometimes your employer, it can be a challenge to motivate people. So if you can get employees to buy in and buy into the system of team building, that's a great way to go as well. I always like to do the staff recognition. You know, you have a dinner once a year and you have an award for literally every person, highlighting the strength that they have, because everybody has a strength. If they don't have a strength, why are you not recognizing their strength? You might want to look into yourself. Are there strengths you're just not recognizing it, or is this person unobjectively terrible and you need to start them on a plan of action to, maybe remove them from your employment? But it shouldn't be hard. Everybody has a strength. You just have to find it and you need to recognize it. I always do time out for fun. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where like every August, our staff meeting, or even a Saturday, or even we would close early on Friday, we have like a professional development afternoon. Half of it would be like CPR, or something not so fun, and then the other half would literally be like pool party, or go to an ice rink, or roller skating, or whatever it is. Super fun, just for fun, just for eating snacks, and like recommitting to being a team together. I think that should be something that we all commit to. I think it's really important that we have times that are out of the classroom space, out of taking care of children, and are just about us and who we are. So I did include this. This is a cup stacking team building. Some people like team building activities. Some people hate them. If you hate them, I understand, they're not my favorite. So I like to do super active things like that. Not everybody wants to get up and tell the group about themselves and, you know, more personal things. Everybody typically likes to do some kind of weird game, or not like a trust activity, but like literally like a weird game or an activity together, something hands-on that you can do as a group. So if you search team building activities on YouTube, you will have things like this. This is a bunch of school-age kids doing a cup stacking, or you'll blindfold somebody. Not everybody likes to be blindfolded, but there's like some really fun things to do, because I think that's a good way. If you have 15 minutes in your staff meeting, you could build something fun like this in, and then have everybody sit down and learn something that you might consider a little bit boring, but start it off with something like funny and lighthearted that you can all laugh together with. So you have so many things to do. As a director or somebody transitioning into management, you have licensing, you have supervision, you have budgeting, you have food, nutrition, all of these types of things, sanitation. But you have to always remember that you are a supervisor, you have staff, you need to monitor, and you need to make sure that they're doing a good job. You need to take new staff, you need to fold them into your program. You need to make sure that your policies that you've spent so long on are being implemented. And then also, in order to have people do those things and commit to doing those things for you, to commit to implementing things, you need to have a positive workplace. Like, people want to come in. They like the coffee that you have in the coffee maker, or they like that every August you take them out to the wave and you guys go through the crazy river together, or whatever it is that makes their workplace fun and keeps them coming back day after day to be in there. It's really important. All right, that is the end for this week. That is the end of week 2. I will see you guys next week.